if it goes to 3.5, can we take Seattle then? If Alex is so confident.
When the numbers come out, we will assess, and the graphic that Tim spoke about, we will make it clear what we landed on. But as of right now, I feel like we have agreed on the Panthers.
Okay.
Jack, it smells. It stinks.
It's gross.
It stinks.
Welcome to Snapback Bets, our YouTube channel. In this video, we will be giving you our 5 best NFL bets just as a place setter. There's 4 of us here. I'm Jack. I'm decent at betting. This is Casey.
I'm very good at betting.
He's a fish. We've got Tim, our sharp expert, and Alex. Alex, what do you want to be throughout this YouTube show?
I think I'm just a everyman's DGen, whether it's midnight tennis or 10-leg parlays in the NFL. I'll be covering it all.
He's a consultant. He's a guy that you want to consult because kind of the stash says it all. He's been around long enough that he's seen it, but he's also not afraid to admit, hey, if there's tennis being played, if there's Korean baseball being played, yeah, I'm gonna be betting on it.
He will have action. We've learned that. So in this episode and every week after this, we are competing in a pick'em contest where we give 5 picks every single week, and the grand prize is $1 million. So you guys are literally going to watch us win $1 million. It's like week 1 NFL for your favorite team. You have this blind confidence that, this season's going to be great. That's what we have right now. So we are hoping to do a giveaway when we win it, but we do have a giveaway winner. We gave away $1,000 to a subscriber, so make sure you hit subscribe. The winner was Nick A. Dolphy 1249.
Hey, shout out Nicky.
Congrats to Nick. Shoot a comment down below. We will find you and get you your $1,000. But what do you guys think? If we win the millie here, how much are you guys comfortable giving away back to the Snapback Bets fam who are subscribed to the channel? Tim, what do you think is fair?
I don't know, Jack. I feel like all you do is give. I mean, good trait and all that, but I feel like we've kind of allocated them. This is what happens in gambling. You kind of have the money spent before you even win it. And I guess if people are gonna, hop aboard and dial in every week, I guess I'm fine with whatever you say. You're the boss. You're the boss, man.
What do you want to give away?
I'd say 100 racks.
100 racks? You can give away your 100 racks.
Whatever. And then we split the 900 between. You have to pay taxes on this contest?
Yeah, maybe a little.
All right. So they have to pay the equivalent of their taxes also for us, and then they'll get the rest.
I say we drop a 0 off that.
10K will be the number. If we get the community really into it, maybe we'll feel generous along the way. But the way this show is going to roll is pretty simple. All 4 of us came with 1 pick. And then the decisive 5th pick is going to have to be agreed upon by at least the majority. We're never going to get a 4-0 conclusive here. But if we get 3 people to agree on a pick, that will be our 5th pick. Tim, the show is yours. You go first. You're our smartest person. What are we starting off with?
Okay, well, I guess the board is mine here. It's very generous of you guys. I will say, not to keep dragging everybody along here, but there are contest lines. So that's kind of a tricky aspect of this, is that you play the lines given by the contest. And I guess through that avenue, we are giving our bets, but sometimes that contest line is a better number and you got to play that. But again, everybody else is in the contest and sees the same thing. So long and short of it, I'm going to start us out here with the Tennessee Titans plus 4.5 at the Chicago Bears. Really, this is a fade on rookie quarterbacks in their first start. Just noting here, number 1 overall picks. This is from my guy, Evan Abrams, over at the Action Network. There have been 27 number 1 pick quarterbacks since the merger in 1970. In their first start, they are 4-22-1 straight up and 7-10 against the spread. The last winner would be 2002 Derek Carr, the last straight up winner, that is. So, look, that's not an entire way to make a handicap, but it's certainly a jumping off point for me. I think the Bears.
I have a question,
yeah,
Tim, if you don't mind. Do you have those quarterbacks listed out?
Do I have them listed out?
Or is it just the stat? Like, do we know who the previous number 1s are?
No, but I could give you a list that is kind of interesting off of that same mark. So Caleb Williams will be the 6th rookie quarterback to start in week 1 with a point spread of -3 or higher since the merger. With those quarterbacks I'm talking about are 1-4 straight up and against the spread in those games 1 for 4 as well. So Mac Jones, week 1 was -3.5. Trevor Lawrence, week 1, -4.5. Carson Wentz, week 1, -3.5. He's the only winner of this group. Jameis Winston, -3, week 1, lost. And then all the way back to Terry Bradshaw, -5, week 1, and lost.
Yeah, I think it's a good stat, and I think it's fair. I just think with these historical number 1 pick stats, and we don't know if Caleb is the guy yet, but in theory, he is the guy. And it's like when you compare him to a Carson Wentz who isn't in the league, a Mac Jones is a backup quarterback. It's just like, I'm not saying I hate it. I'm just saying, like, are we worried that he's different?
Here's the thing, which I actually don't blame you for thinking of it this way. You're using basically the post data, what we knew afterwards, as justification to not do it. At the time, all of those guys were,
we're supposed to be the guys.
And I love Caleb Williams. He's, I was hoping that enough would happen that he would drop to my Patriots, but I think he's outstanding. I think there's a little hard knocks effect here. And I just think this line is a little too wide for my liking. Again, it's a tall ask for this guy to go win by 5+ points in his first start. Chicago Bears, again, a team that's getting a lot of hype, but a lot of wait and see first.
And my final follow-up to that is, how many, obviously you don't have these stats in front of you, but just in theory, how many of those were the true number 1 overall pick, meaning they were the worst team in the league, versus that's what you were going to say?
Yeah.
Versus
he's not the number 1 pick.
This
for
is
the
the
Bears.
team that has the number 1 pick via trade. So
Which is very rare.
So when you put it into the actual equation of like Caleb is actually the next guy, but I agree, Trevor was coined that as well, and he's in that same stat. And that's
but the Jags were 1-15,
right.
2-14, and I think what I was going to bring to the table, which Casey stole from me, which is good. It's good combo. Is that he's essentially playing on a 12th place or 12th to last place team this season.
I think that's a really strong point, and it's why the sole reason to make a pick is not because of a trend. Right. I think it helps. I think it's it's icing, but to me, it's a spot that is like Tomlin as a dog. It is something that has been going on since the beginning of time, that most quarterbacks in their first start, it doesn't go well. Then we kind of see that bell curve where they'll pick it up a little bit, then the league figures them out. Like, guys, the NFL, I say this time and time again, why I think I'm pretty solid at betting the NFL is because the same thing happens over and over again. It's just insert team and play it out. What has changed is that the numbers have gotten sharper on a lot of these things. So maybe 5 years ago, Caleb Williams in this start would be -6.5, and really Tennessee would be the right play. But this is how that gambling market has kind of evolved a little bit.
I like the play. I think that the Bears and Caleb were going to be really good, but I also am a little higher on the Titans, so I sign off on that pick. Not that we need to, but I am with you. I see the 4.5. Is that going to be one of your teaser pieces? I feel like get through 10.5 there has got to be a strong play.
No. We only tease through both 3 and 7. So
interesting.
Yeah. That is the sole math of the teaser. The problem is a lot of these places to shop now have made the teaser far less advantageous. It used to, back in the day, be able to get -120 on a teaser, even -115, all the way back before I was able to start betting. But yeah, that was now you're seeing -130s, -140s. So
yeah, I was going to say, is the teaser becoming obsolete?
No, here's the interesting about the teaser right now is that our key numbers are actually changing, because more teams go for 2. The point after attempt isn't a gimme. So we have seen a drastic change in philosophy with teams, down, say 14 points, whatever, that key numbers are becoming less and less, or becoming more obsolete. They still do matter, but Jack, I think eventually, which I think is an interesting betting conversation, is that teaser might not be wrong of what you're saying. And I also think another factor is we saw a record number of unders last year, and teasers are, correlate well with unders. So Yeah, you aren't entirely wrong, but I would caution people, these blind teasers. Look, we never tease through zero, and we certainly never tease the college football as well while we're here.
Yeah. All right. Let's go from sharp to fish.
Is it like, I don't mean to be combative on episode 1, but is it worth, like, it's his pick and we're riding and I hope it hits, but is it worth mentioning, like, if viewers want to take sides that I don't like his pick?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Like you would come to the table with Bears -4.5, or you just lean one way, because I think that's a big difference.
I just lean Bears
Okay.
and against that pick. But Titans is not Bears is not my pick.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
Casey, I'll
I just
say
want it on the
this.
record. I just
Yeah.
want it on the record. That's all.
I think it's totally fine to have on the record for when we
Yeah.
kind of do as we build this week over week. When you say to me,
Right.
well, Tim, past 3 weeks, you've told me
Exactly.
that this is the sharp
Yeah.
side. So, look, I mean, what's your record again on Pickett in the NFL?
I don't.
It's
I
0
don't
and 53,
know.
but that's not on straight bets. And
Right.
this is
That actually doesn't include a singular
look.
straight.
We
bet.
were sitting in the office,
But that would
and
axe out if you went 70% against the spread, you would still not be profitable. It's like even if you won your next 40 spread bets.
That's why I don't take straight bets.
I just want to set the stage for everyone here. We are trying to win $1 million together.
Together.
Casey pushing back, offering different insight, acceptable. Casey even wanting to have a lean, acceptable. It's irrelevant. It doesn't necessarily
Irrelevant.
help the cause. But I was sitting in the office and I said to him, "What are your picks? I want to talk through mine just to get even more feedback. Like maybe I'm missing something." And he was like, "I'm not telling you my pick." I'm like, "We're trying to win together. So
Yes.
let's just make sure we're
Yes.
all
No, we are
like,
trying
we are
to
literally
win
in this
together. I just simply wanted on the record, if there's any like hashtag Team Casey's out there who comment that they are also on the record with me. That
But
we do
only
not
with a
like
lean.
that.
Not that he loves it. Only with a lean.
Yeah.
Right. He's
All right,
not
anyways.
playing it. He's not playing it himself. He just wants to tell you that he doesn't
Yeah.
like your pick.
Yeah,
But he's
that's
not
all.
betting it.
And we can move forward. I just wanted that on the record.
What I would like to say is that
Yes.
if you are strong enough against it, you should bet it.
No, I'm not. So
Okay, so-
there we go.
Yeah.
So it's just for the record.
The
Anyways,
record,
my
stop
pick.
talking about the record. We've talked about the record 700 times. Your record is the only record that I want to talk about.
So I'm wearing a Florida Panthers sweatshirt because my pick is the Miami Dolphins -3.5. The way I see this is I'm actually not. There seems to be a hive of like they're done with T-Law and they're kind of writing off T-Law. I'm actually not in that bucket. More so in week 1, there's a ton of question marks coming into the season. There's new coaches, there's new quarterbacks. Maybe teams had a lot of turnover, this, that, and the other. I kind of like to take a week 1 matchup where I felt like there was not a ton of turnover. I feel like outside, like on the Jags, outside of Calvin Ridley leaving, which I don't think is the biggest thing, you replace him with Gabe Davis or BTJ, whatever it is, that team kind of stayed the same. And then you go over to the Dolphins, and for me, I feel like they have a very similar roster. Maybe Robert Hunt leaving. Like, he's a guard. How much of an impact is that actually going to make? Tua gets the ball out of his hands so quickly. So here, I'm talking last year, if I had seen this matchup, all things considered, I love the Dolphins -3.5. So then we come to week 1, all things the same. I still love the Dolphins -3.5 at home. Tim looks upset, and I cannot wait to hear from him what he's got to say about that one.
No, it's not really about. Look, the pick's the pick. I considered Jackson. I thought this line was going to be. I thought Miami was going to be laying closer to 4.5, 5, for a lot of the same reasons. Thinking, okay, I want to apply a last year principle to say this is now game 18 of the regular season of 2023. But when you look at Miami, the defensive side was, there's concerns, right? No Christian Wilkins, Vic Fangio. So
That's your boy. I was waiting for someone to
No,
mention
yeah,
Vic Fangio, Casey's favorite.
No, Wilkins is certainly a big loss, but then people want to throw in like a Xavier Howard, who I don't think is playing
I
at the
agree with you
level
there,
to be a
but
big
you need
loss.
to address Vic Fangio is what, along with Kellen Moore, is what's going to make the Eagles so much better. You don't have concern that they lost your boy Vic?
No, I think it says more about they are going to outscore teams. And what I love about betting the Dolphins spread is Mike McDaniel. It kind of wants like Tua to win like the Heisman. Like they just keep going. They keep going. They'll keep scoring points.
That'd
It
be
doesn't
wild
matter
if
what
he
it
won the
is.
Heisman. That'd be wild.
Like they treat it like it's a college game where they'll put up 63 points. And like for me, that's very comforting when it's like, oh, let's shut it down and run the ball. No, let's just keep scoring points. Mike McDaniel's obsessed with shoving points down people's throats. And when you're laying 3.5, that feels really good. Like I don't feel like they're winning this game by a field goal. I feel like it's a 14-point win.
To be fair, the Miami defense was not great last year. So,
Sure.
The Fangio thing is kind of take it with what you will. It is what it is. And they were also banged up, right? They were banged up last year. And to add on to that, I still think your assumption about the teams being the same isn't quite true. Trevor Lawrence, he played through injury the second half of last year. And whether you're in on Trevor or out on Trevor, quarterbacks tend to do this thing where they play injured. That's part of the job. And, it almost is like it would be better for your handicap if like we'd have a lot more clarity if he just didn't play those games. But instead it's like, how hurt was he? How limited was he? I think to me that played a factor in Jacksonville the second half of last year, a team who was favored to win that division last year, by the way.
We are actually, after this recording, headed to Brazil for Packers versus Eagles. And that's where I am heading for my pick. Like I mentioned, Dolphins were intriguing to me. I was sitting on the Lions -3.5 against the Rams for a little bit. McVay 6-1 against the spread in openers pushed me a little bit off of that. Also, close result in the playoff game as well. But I landed in Green Bay. Well, in Brazil, on Green Bay. As we mentioned at the beginning, this is a contest line. So it's actually a worse line than I would like in the market, but I am still comfortable enough betting this and choosing this line. Packers +1.5 in the contest. You can get them at +3 in most markets right now. I like them on the money line. I like them to win the game straight up. And it's not that I'm anti-Eagles this year, but I am anti-Week 1 Eagles for a couple reasons. You replace two coordinators. Jalen Hurts doesn't play in the preseason. I think that people underestimate how much real live game reps actually matter when it comes to this. On top of that, do I think the Eagles got better? And will the free agent acquisitions and who they drafted pay off for them this season? Absolutely. I think the coordinators will pay off for them. Absolutely. But they draft two rookie corners. Corners are some of the longest to accommodate to the NFL. Coordinators, it takes a little bit to get into the system. And I actually think the one piece they lost is the most important piece when it comes to Week 1 is the stability. It's your Hall of Fame center in Jason Kelce. I'm not denying that they're not going to have, Kelce has been training this kid to move over to the center spot, and they'll be fine there. But all those factors come in Week 1, and the Packers kind of turned over fairly the same roster. Am I right in that? Coordinator stayed the same, coach stayed the same.
The Packers?
For the most part? Yeah.
Well, Jeff Hafley now the defensive coordinator.
Okay.
From BC.
So new DC, which they were, I would say, what were the pack last year? Middle of the pack, if not bottom half of the league when it came to defensive?
I can tell you right now, the Green Bay, I think they got better as the season went on both sides of the ball. But defensively last season, if you give me, I have a top 10 defense by points allowed per game.
Okay.
I have a top 10 defense I have a top 20 defense by yards. And I could go a little better for it if you want, but I think that people expect the defense to take another step under Hafley. I think one of the problems last year is they weren't aggressive enough, and Hafley seems to be a guy that wants to be aggressive, even though his BC team last year, I don't think recorded like more than 4 sacks. It felt like so. Maybe that's just because it's BC, but carry on.
So I think the Packers and the Texans are two very similar squads to me, where I like them. I think they will win games, but I just don't love them like the market does. I don't have CJ Stroud as a top 3 quarterback in Houston as an AFC contender. I have them more, in that 4th, 5th, 6th slot. And it's similar to the Packers. I don't think that they're going to be bad, but Jordan Love played, a bunch of games last year. It's not like he came in and played a 6-game stretch and balled. He played from game 1 all the way through the NFC, divisional game. And he's a really good player. He is a very good quarterback. I'm confident enough to say that. Like, people are like crowning CJ Stroud as this next young great quarterback. What did he do any differently than Jordan Love? They both played the entirety of the year.
To me, I think what we are skewing a little bit in this is the recency of how Green Bay finished last season and how Philadelphia finished last season. Philadelphia was 10-1, I believe, was what they started. And actually, Jalen Hurts now has the longest ATS losing streak of active quarterbacks. I think he's tied with Daniel Jones. So not good company there. But I think what a lot of Philly's collapse last year can be attributed to the schedule. They got, if you remember, they played about 5 games in a row. It was Cowboys,
City,
Buffalo.
Yeah,
It was.
But this is why I was fading Philly at the end of the year and
We
in the
all
playoff
were.
game.
We all were.
Because you say 10-1 and then they stumbled through the finish line. They were lucky to even be close to 10-1. Like, I think that the Philly team last year was a 500 ball club at best. I mean, they got smoked by the Buccaneers. And what I'm saying is, will they be better by the playoffs this season than they were last season? Yes. But I'm not convinced that they brought in a bunch of people that are going to make an impact on day one. That isn't going to take adjusting to from the coordinators. That isn't going to take adjusting to from losing Kelsey. That is kind of my sentiment here. Yes, the only players that are stepping in actively that will help out this team, Saquon Barkley, okay? I'm not enthralled with a running back and his impact, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Okay, that is an upgrade at the safety position. But rookie corners don't do it for me. Guys who were backups last year who are moving into a starting role don't do it for me on day one. And I just like the Packers to win this game. Now, feel free to make your point on Hurts. I am understanding of that. You need to put a measurement on how much you think Jalen Hurts was hurt last year. And was it the shoulder? Was it the leg? Where are we giving credence to that? And I think that's a fair point we talked about with Lawrence. I just think the Packers, for one game, Friday Night Lights, are the team to be here.
Yeah, my only thing is less about how bullish I am on the Eagles. It's just like the amount of uncertainty that, and I don't know if we're going to find a bet that we're super certain on, but the amount of uncertainty that we have surrounding a game in Brazil, the first time there's ever going to be a game played in Brazil. It's the longest flight that the NFL has ever put these players on going to a game. It's very uncharted territory. Like when we went to the first Munich game, like we had Tom Brady playing like he had essentially never seen a football for the first half of the game. So it took him some time to get into the swing of things. And so I just don't know how good I can feel about a lean on a game being played in Brazil where there's so many external factors that can make an impact that you can completely throw out in any other game this season that isn't being played in Brazil.
Yeah, I think Casey's definitely onto something here. I like the logic you came with. I think these are two pretty equal teams. I would certainly side with the Packers with the points, but all the uncertainty, this just feels like a game you could pass. Obviously, we're not going to because it's a Friday night, so like you're gonna 100% bet it no matter what. But contest-wise, I feel like this is one you could probably deal without being just too many uncertainties, weird timing. I agree with Casey.
I think that's a good call. I will take, just to close it and say, if you're calling it a coin flip because we don't know what's happening, give me 1.5 and I hope.
Tim, what are your thoughts on like betting international games?
Well, Casey, what time is it right now in New York?
No, it's only in a 1 hour difference. So that does take away
the only thing that matters.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. All right. No, that's fair. If you think, I agree. Time change is probably the biggest factor, but I wasn't sure if a 10-hour flight, whatever it may be, all the uncertainty, the air quality, just overall the lack of excitement. Like, who knows? Half of the Packers or Eagles roster could just be like, let's get this game over with and get me back to the fucking United States type of thing. So whether these are real things or not, just the uncertainty for me, like Alex said, I'm going to bet a first touchdown scorer, but I don't know if I'm betting it with certainty in a contest. That's all.
I would love to get dealt a Green Bay +3 -110. I think that I'd feel great about that. That's not, don't believe that's out there. I think you could have got it at one point, possibly, if you were, not busy traveling all summer like I was. But so Jack, we're getting that 3 in. So we don't know our contest line yet. We're basically projecting. If this isn't 3, if this is 2.5 in the contest, you still like it?
No, I'm saying I'm good down to 1.5 to the money line. Like, I think they're going to win the game straight up. Any points or bonus, I'm with you. The reason I got super attracted to this was because when I was looking today without a contest line, it was 3. And I was like, give me that all day long. I'm less excited about 1.5, but I do think the Packers are going to win the football game, beat Philadelphia, and we'll move to 3-0 on all our picks together. Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to take us home here to the 4-0 with the Arizona Cardinals +6.5. This is one that's just simply feels too high. The week 1, the travel's not really a concern. Beautiful day in Buffalo, so you don't have the weather concerns you normally get there. And this is a lot to do with just fading the Bills early on with a lot of moving pieces, a lot of uncertainty. They got rid of Pro Bowl safeties, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Poyer played 92% of defensive snaps last year. They also lost Leonard Floyd, who led the team in sacks. And then one of the most key and probably overlooked, obviously people are going to say Diggs, Gabe Davis, key on offense, but I think those guys can be replaced with, a multitude of guys that can make up that production. But Matt Milano, middle linebacker, he tore his bicep on August 15th. So, like 2 weeks ago. That's the heart and soul of the defense. I saw that this team struggled last year when he wasn't on the field. When he was, they allowed 6.7 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, and forced 5 interceptions on pass plays that went across the middle. And then without him on the field, they allowed 7.2 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, and generated 0 interceptions. Who do the Cardinals have? Trey McBride, one of the best up-and-coming tight ends. Dude's going to be eaten over the middle all day. I think this could be a sneaky underdog on the money line. I'll probably sprinkle it just for fun, but I love having the 6.5 just feels way too good.
You're coming strapped.
Yeah,
percentage of
that
snaps played.
That was a flawless.
Let's go.
That was a flawless explanation from me. I will also now be sprinkling on the money line.
Well, that's the DGen in Alex, is that the 6.5 is the play, and we all love it, right? And then the way Alex will lose money on this game is by having Trey McBride to have 100 yards alt. He'll have him to score a touchdown. He'll parlay it all together, so he'll lose. But together,
right, I'll be like 1 in
6.5.
5 overall. I'll get the spread. I'll lose the money line. I'll lose McBride 2 touchdowns, and I won't profit on the game, but I saw it from the start.
You said we all liked it. Tim, are you?
I think even Tim liked it. He smiled.
That means he's happy, right?
That's a rare occurrence. He must be.
Is Dad happy? No, I think Uppy makes a lot of good points. To me, this Buffalo team is a lot of concern. They're kind of going with the old method of, as long as you got the quarterback, he can elevate everybody around you. I think the biggest thing for me is I want 7 here. I want 7. And I think, there have been 7s that have come and gone. Again, sorry, I was in France. So I got to do what I got to do. But I think there's also a chance that this thing comes back to 7 by kickoff because of public money thrown in their parlays.
Yeah, there's certain lines you'll look at, like Buffalo being a super public team. Nobody wants to back the Cardinals being absolute dog shit last season. Do you wait and think like this is going to be super popular, especially like primetime games where it's the standalone? People are going to come in on the favorite. Will you wait day of and hope that it gets there? And are you betting it regardless if it gets there or not? Or are you passing if it doesn't get to your 7?
Yeah, so the old saying is bet favorites early, bet dogs late. And to me, sometimes these numbers just get out of hand. Like I've seen that I could really like Arizona this week. I could love 6.5, and maybe I'll throw a quarter of a unit on that 6.5. And by kickoff, I go, okay, this is just out of hand. This is 7 now, 7.5, and I will play it for the rest of it. If not, and I still like that 6.5, I could still, maybe it goes to 6 by kickoff. Like you still have if you are dialed in from Monday to Sunday morning, you give yourself plenty of opportunities to get that number that you want. And again, this has happened in this new, legalized betting NFL, and that some of these lines I go, oh, that just got out of hand. I'm going to take that. Primetime games, especially, I won't feel strongly about something that'll see it go through 3, go through 3.5, up to 4. And I say, yeah, I'm going to buy in on this. So I think the Cardinals are an exciting team this year. Kyler Murray, when he came back last year, they were so pesky. I mean, they were pesky with Dobbs. So I think Buffalo, I want to feel high on them. And because I think it's a good narrative to root for in Josh Allen with no help. I think that is like that is a fun story watching this guy put the whole thing on his shoulders. I don't know how it looks in week 1. It's kind of my thing. I would love it at 7. I'm fine with it because of your case at 6.5.
Yeah, I thought good points, especially on the travel, the weather. Those are all things that will play into it.
No, he made a great point. They're all things that don't matter.
Right, that's what they would normally matter.
Right.
Yeah.
So first thing you go is, right, oh yeah, travel doesn't matter week 1. Weather doesn't matter September. I mean, it shouldn't. Yeah. I went to school in upstate New York. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't.
Yeah. My hot take is that I think this line, even with the public love for Buffalo, I think it's going to go down to 6. I think the Sharps are going to hit it. I actually think it's one of the best plays on the board this week. I love the play. You guys know how high I am on the Cardinals. I wanted to come in being high on Buffalo because they have Josh Allen. And then I really looked at all those losses. It's more than you could ever imagine. Throw in Milano there as well. I think we're sitting on a 4-0 card. Casey and Tim think we're 3-1 with the opposites of each other.
I think 2-2 for recording. But how do we figure out the 5th pick?
I love the Jets in primetime.
Yeah, I'm out.
Casey's going to absolutely fucking hate it.
That's fine.
And
that's fine.
I understand. I don't blame him. This is really just a fade of Super Bowl losers. I'm sure you guys have seen it since 2000, the loser of the Super Bowl, 5-19 against the spread in week 1. And I know Casey is going to say, what does the 2000 Super Bowl loser have to do with the 2024 Super Bowl loser?
Fair.
And I agree. It's just a massive sample size that says there is this letdown after you get to the absolute pinnacle and then you don't win it. There's obviously a letdown the entire offseason. Trent Williams will be back, hasn't been practicing. Ayuk back, finally in the building. Both, two of the more key guys on the entire roster, especially Trent Williams. I don't think that can be understated. What kind of shape are these guys in? Obviously, they work by themselves in the offseason. I just think that is something to note. And just
Alex, what's your number? Solid. What's the number we're playing here?
4.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I loved the Jets about 2 weeks ago, and I think this was 6.5. I think this could it have opened 7? I doubt it ever touched 7.
I don't think so.
I could
tell you.
Yeah, I saw it get down to 4.5, and I ran like far, far away from this. Not that I like the Niners by any stretch, but I think I'm maybe anchored to the 6. So for that reason, I'm out.
I'm also out. I have a personal vendetta against the Jets that I will carry the whole season. But if it becomes the right play, I will be mature enough to allow it. For week 1, for me, the uncertainty,
But there's
the,
no
the
uncertainty.
amount of result.
I actually think your thesis on why you're fading the Jets should want you to bet the Jets even more week 1 when the tackles are healthy, when Rodgers is guaranteed to be healthy, when all these things are true. Is that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, he just hasn't played. You can't simulate the reps, et cetera, et cetera. He hasn't. Hurts, you were talking about. He didn't play in the preseason, but he played all last year. Rodgers hasn't simulated those reps against one of the best teams in the NFL
so your bet is
on
Rodgers
the road
sucks.
in 2 years. I'm just saying,
Doesn't he own San Francisco?
for me, the Jets is just a stay away week 1. Let's just see
That's
what
fair,
the
but
Jets are.
I would argue with the Jets defense, what we saw them do to the Chiefs and other great teams with absolutely no quarterback play.
Yeah.
They kept all these games close just with the phenomenal defense.
That's
if you
why I
get
love
anything
6.
from Rodgers, I think this is
certainly
feel good.
For me, just week 1, the Jets would be a stay away. That's.
You're gonna say that week 17.
No,
all
I'm
right.
not. That's why I said.
Tim, do you have anything to pitch us?
Well, by the way, this is a Jets team that won 7, 8 games last year, and with about as abysmal quarterback play as you could get.
Yeah.
I am skeptical on the Aaron Rodgers stuff. I don't think he's going to be through the moon or, MVP Aaron Rodgers level. But if you are they've showed that they just need a pulse at the quarterback position. I buy into, this is a very volatile team. If it goes poorly to start, look out below. But this is a 49ers team that has played a lot of football. They had a lot of distractions this offseason. And I believe the trends are strong with the loser of the Super Bowl in week 1 the following season. So I think that all that at play here, Jack, the highest it's got was 6 is from what I saw.
Okay.
And, it would feel good to have that 6. But I think that when I was kind of ranking my plays here, the Jets at plus 4.5 will probably be my 3rd favorite pick.
I like them, not love.
Yeah,
Next?
I think we should move on if we already have 2 outs. You had a second, Alex?
Well, let's give Tim a.
All right, Tim, give it a go.
So you gave us number 1. You say the Jets are 3.
Yeah.
Then you need to give us our second here.
Hold on. The Carolina Panthers plus 4.5 at the New Orleans Saints.
Thank you. That was mine as well.
No
I don't
way.
even need to
David,
speak
let
on
him
it.
pitch. Let him pitch.
Was that really, Casey?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I'm throwing the keys to you. Go cook.
I'm a big fan of Canales, what he's done with quarterbacks in the past. So I think there's a Bryce Young, we talk about how excited we are about Caleb this year because of the situation he's in. I feel like the other side with Bryce, he could not have been put in a worse situation, maybe outside of the Zach Wilson Jets teams, but he was in an awful situation. They get better coaching this year and they just added so much across the board. You get Robert Hunt, who I talked about earlier, who left the Dolphins. You get Deontay Johnson. But he's a good piece.
No, he's not.
Why is Deontay Johnson not a good piece?
Is Deontay Johnson a good piece?
Good. Not great.
He can be.
He's a good piece.
Here's what you're missing. Here's what you're missing.
The Saints suck.
He can't catch the ball, but when he can, he's solid.
Deontay Johnson's addition to the Panthers is marginally positive.
It is.
Right?
I'm not denying that.
Him being added to, pick your favorite, wide receiver core. No, but he is certainly an upgrade to, 50-year-old Adam Thielen. And
yes.
I think that Carolina has, first off, New Orleans here, they went 1-1 ATS against each other last year, if you remember correctly. Then in week 2, Saints won 20-17. That line closed 3.5. So again, this is what we're looking for. I don't think people realize how bad of a coach Dennis Allen is. In his coaching career, Dennis Allen is 24-46 straight up, worst among all active head coaches. In 5 years and 70 games of coaching, Allen is 22 games below 500 straight up. And against the spread, it's pretty much just as bad. So I don't feel like this Carolina team is that far off of a division rival here. This is this is about, it's hard to buy low, but people continue to throw stones at this Carolina team. And I think that they have showed that they want to, at least an effort to improve this offense, right? Like they boosted the offensive line a little bit. Casey, you mentioned the wide receivers. I think 4.5 is too much for a division matchup here, a divisional dog, which you love to see.
And just my last point on this, we talk about like the blind optimism that like almost 90% of teams like talk themselves into we have a chance this year. Like somehow we could figure it out. Whatever it is, the Panthers are in a bad division. We could find a way to win the division. And I think Canales can bring that. And it's like, we can turn this thing around. We can be good. And they can have that mentality for week one, whether or not it goes well or not. I feel like surrounding the Saints, it's just, this could be, as an outsider, I obviously don't know what's going on inside, but it just feels like all bad vibes surrounding New Orleans. Derek Carr, no one wants him there. You got the Kamara stuff all offseason. Like, it just feels like there's a lot of bad vibes going there. And I feel like the Panthers, with all these new weapons, all this just in general
it
new.
Feels like when Dable came in and won that game on the road against Tennessee to open up. I get that. What this pick made me think about was, I think we should gift every single one of us on this show one time this entire season to just straight reject a bet. It could be the group pick. It could be one of Casey's picks. But I think we should add that. I'm not saying I would use mine here.
I was going to say I would not use that here, because I actually like this a lot. Derek Carr is actually the worst quarterback against the spread as a favorite since 2014. He's 165 out of 166. And Dennis Allen is sneaky, one of the worst coaches we've seen in a long time. This could be one of the worst teams in the entire league. I know Carolina's bad, but divisional dog when you're facing the worst quarterback, the worst coach.
Okay.
I think there's something here.
All things point Carolina. And like I said, it's not that I would bet New Orleans. I'm just going to pose that in week one, all I know is bad Bryce Young. and it gives me very similar vibes to Zach Wilson and the Jets. Like, this would be like, you could just change the colors and this is the Zach Wilson Jets, where it's like, oh, it can't be worse. Oh, he's a number one pick. He's a top prospect. Like, he's gonna be better. I am willing to stamp Bryce Young is a bust. And that's how strongly I feel that, yes, all things point Carolina. If the quarterback is somewhat competent, I genuinely think that Bryce Young is the worst quarterback in the NFL that's starting week one. And I think the Panthers, because of that, will be the worst team. On top of the fact that, like, at least the Jets had a good defense. At least the Jets had good pieces. I don't think the pieces are good here. They're improved, but I do not think they are good.
We have 3, so you either need to use your veto, or I think that's our pick.
I think 3 gives us enough, but we should still at least offer up one more pick and see if we can find a 4.
So who's offering?
I think
Tim,
Seahawks at home is interesting against a rookie quarterback. I don't necessarily like that more than the Panthers.
That's on my list. I would say that's on my list. How do you guys feel about Chargers -3? The only worry with the Chargers is I think they're going to win that game, but they're going to play such a short game that 3 feels like a lot. Like, this really could be a Big Ten football game.
Yeah, they're going to run the ball 50 times. It's going to be 20 to 17.
I think the only one left worth talking about is the Seahawks, because I would be fine with the Seahawks if you're fine with the Seahawks.
Anyone like Cleveland over Dallas? Or I like the Commanders +3.5, but I am understanding that maybe my Commanders love.
I honestly like both of those, but those are ones that I feel like have way more uncertainty than, Seattle just being a staple. Commanders, rookie quarterback, Browns, Deshaun Watson. Obviously, we have no idea what to expect. Yeah. Could be terrible again.
Okay. All right. Well, let me take a chance on Seattle -5.5. Let's see if I can convince the group to go 4-0 here. Seattle, they bring in a new coaching staff, which I think we are in agreement that is not necessarily the best thing for a week 1 wager. I do think the stability with Sean Payton, he's a good coach. I think he had a tough situation given Russell Wilson and that roster. So that may not be a plus for Seattle, but look what they are bringing in. It's the Washington offensive coordinator. He's a better coordinator than they had last year, and I'm obsessed with Mike Macdonald. And I think if I'm gonna sell you this pen, I'm gonna sell you it this way. Last season, Mike Macdonald was the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. I think a more talented defense than Seattle, but there were a lot of questions with the Ravens defense coming into last year. Kyle Hamilton wasn't the guy he is now. Justin Madubuike wasn't the guy he was now. And they got production out of Van Noy, Clowney, a lot of names that I think looking back you understood, but going into it you didn't. And I make that point to say week 1 last season, CJ Stroud, who I think is a significantly better quarterback than Bo Nix, struggled mightily against Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald feasts on rookie quarterback play, and I could see a situation where they don't put up more than 10, 13 points given just Macdonald. I don't think Macdonald coming in as a head coach, he's going to be locked in on the defense for week 1. We saw what happened with Dable. When Dable came to New York, he was very involved in the offense. And I think that's why they were so successful 2 years ago. Then he gives up play calling because he's got to run the team. He's got to manage the team. There's a lot more that goes into being the head coach. But early on in his tenure, you still got the good OC. And I think we could see a similar thing from Macdonald. 5.5-point favorites against Denver. Look, could I see this game getting completely mucked up? Absolutely. And I saw someone mention, if you're going to bet this game, maybe bet, Seattle minus 12.5 because the variance in this game is high. But I do think Mike Macdonald straight up against Bo Nix could lead to really, really good things. And people don't think Denver's going to be good this year. And I think Seattle could be quite good. So that's my pitch. Seahawks minus 5.5. Shall we hold a vote?
I think you're warm there, Jack. My thing about this is I want to play Geno Smith and Seattle as an underdog. I want to play them when they're being disrespected. I don't feel like they're being disrespected here. Geno's 10-15 against the spread as a favorite in his career. He's 22-17-2 as a dog. Geno as a favorite of 4 points or more, 2-7 against the spread. So I think it's a spotty thing with them. And I think that Seattle's going to be decent this year. I think they're going to be fine. I like your handicap about, a defensive minded coach and what he can do to that defense. But, I don't feel strongly enough to be pro Broncos because I'm not betting a rookie quarterback week 1. And then the other side of it, like I said, I want to play Seattle when they're getting disrespected. I don't feel like that's the case here.
It's fair.
I like that. I like that feedback because I was almost leaning Seahawks because I think, but my one drawback was is Geno going to get us to the number that we need it to be? And those
honestly, Jack almost had me,
no.
and then Tim came with some actual reason and
okay, all right,
but he swayed me back.
That's exactly how I felt actually.
I
get that.
I feel like this is gonna be you go.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say I think the new OC, it's a different. Their offense last year was pretty putrid, and I think that's sticky, and it's why, right? They came off a really good season, so they were favorites a bunch last season, and they weren't coming through successfully. But I get it. The numbers don't lie. I would prefer to bet Seattle in a disrespected spot. I think they're respected fairly here. I guess I just gotta either use my 1x in week 1 or accept the Bryce Young
for
show.
me, this is a huge survivor pick. I like the Seahawks in survivor, just not for the contest.
Yeah. Okay.
And I will say, I think it's important to note that our picks that don't make the cut here, we are going to have out there graphic, Twitter, whatever it is, in some form, our contest picks by obviously before game time on Sunday, but hopefully I think Friday or so-ish. I think the teams that miss the cut on our list doesn't necessarily mean that, they're on the floor. If the contest line gives us a better look here, say we get dealt 4.5 Seattle, the contest line, I think that's something that I could be swayed on. So that just for the record there.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to clarify one last time. You guys want to bet on Bryce Young?
I'm in.
Yep. Unfortunately, this is a plug your nose staple.
For sure. Plug the nose. Can we at least give me some relief on the back end? if the line gets to, in the contest, 3.5, are we still betting it? And 3, are we still betting it?
I just know it won't be either of those. So that's not
Let's
a
stop it.
hypothetical. It'll be
Let's
4
stop
and
it.
a half.
How do you
So
know
in the
it's gonna be 4.5?
contest, because I know in the contest they'll never hang whole numbers, so it won't be 4, and they're not going to push it to 3.5, being that the whole market's 4.5. I just know how it can work, and it just won't get to 3.5.
What
All
if,
right,
if it goes to 3.5, can we take Seattle then? If Alex is so confident.
When the numbers come out, we will assess, and the graphic that Tim spoke about, we will make it clear what we landed on. But as of right now, I feel like we have agreed on the Panthers.
Okay.
Jack, it smells. It stinks.
It's gross.
It stinks.
I'm with it. And let's go Panthers.
Okay, to recap, Jack, Packers +3, but he's taking any number. Casey, Miami -3.5 hosting Jacksonville. Alex, he's going to take +6.5 at the Buffalo Bills with the Arizona Cardinals. And Tim is going to go Tennessee +4.5 at the Chicago Bears. And the new consensus agreed upon pick by everybody, undoubtedly, is Carolina +4.5 at the New Orleans Saints.
All right. I think that's a good first week. I'm very excited for NFL Sunday. Now I have some extreme rooting interests because we like to play some more creative stuff on Sundays, knowing that we have 5 straight bets going. One Friday night will be exciting. I'm Jack. We've got the Fish. We've got Timmy Sharps, Uppy, and we'll be here every Thursday for this segment. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. And then Tim will be guessing the line, which is week 2 openers every Monday on the channel. A lot of sports betting content coming. And best of luck to everyone. Let us know in the comments what you guys are betting. Are you riding with us? Are you betting the Saints? Are you betting to a Heisman? Until next time, deuces.
Good luck in Brazil.